Hello and welcome to Computology Academy, and today we are going to discuss the revolts of Jharkhand, right? So here this is going to be the first part related to the revolts of Jharkhand, in which we will discuss the Dhal revolt, the Pahadia revolt and the Kharwar revolt. So these three revolts will be discussed in detail in this discussion. So watch the video till the end. These three revolts are important from the point of view of the Jharkhand state related examination, as well as with respect to the UPSC civil services examination also, because the tribal revolts are also a part of the syllabus of UPSC civil services examination, right? So here let us start with the discussion. And here the Dhal rebellion was between 1767 to 1777. This was the time period during which the Dhal rebellion was there. And here the British entered the Jharkhand region for the first time from the Singhbhum Mambhum region. Singhbhum Mambhum region was the first region in which the Britishers started to expand their authority, extend their authority and empire in Jharkhand region, because initially the British authority had established their empire, their authority, whatever you say, after getting the Diwani rights in 1765 by Shah Alam II, and thereafter they started to expand in all directions, whether it was Bihar, whether it was Jharkhand region, whether it was Odisha region, right? And in that course, when they entered the Singhbhum Manbhum region, they faced a fierce rebellion, fierce revolt against themselves by the tribals. And here what had happened, the rebellion was the first rebellion against the Britishers in this region. The Dhal revolt, the Dhal rebellion is considered as the first rebellion of Jharkhand region against the British authority, right? And here the Britishers had entered Singhbhum in 1767 AD, and after entering this region, what they did, first of all, they deposed the king. So they deposed the king of Dhalbhum, Jagannath Dhal, and this was the reason why there was widespread rebellion took place, because the king was a revered person. The relation between the king and his subjects was very good in this region during that period. So the king as well as his subjects had rebelled against the Britishers collectively, and because of that the stature of the fierceness of this rebellion was too much great for the, too much big for the British Empire, which was a force to be reckoned with, right? And this is known as the Dhal rebellion, because the leadership to this rebellion was being provided by Jagannath Dhal, the king of Dhalbhum region, and that is why this is known as the Dhal rebellion, right? And here it lasted for 10 years, lasted for 10 years from 1767 to 1777, and the Britishers had to spend too much of their resources and had to send too much of the military power to suppress this rebellion. They had sent Lieutenant Rooke and Charles Morgan to suppress this rebellion. The company sent them, and here the rebellion did not succeed, as well as the Britishers themselves also did not succeed in suppressing the rebellion. So lastly the Britishers realized, after they failed to suppress the rebellion and to restore the peace and tranquility in the region, they realized that to rule this region, to govern this region properly, we have to reconcile with the locals, we have to reconcile with the tribals. Then only we will be in position to rule this region. So this was the situation in front of the Britishers. So what happened? Jagannath Dhal was restored as the ruler of the region. He was restored as the king of Dhalbhum. So the Britishers reconciled with the local people, the king and the tribals. and this was done in 1777, and the rebellion ended with this restoration and the agreement between the king, the ruler of the region, that is Jagannath Dhal, and the British administration. And what was the agreement? The Jagannath Dhal accepted to pay the English company an annual tribute of 2000 rupees in the first year, 3000 rupees in the second year, 4000 rupees in the third year. However, this 4000 rupees continued till 1800, and in 1800 the annual tribute was raised to 4267 rupees. So you may think that this was a meager increment as well as the tribute itself was a meager amount, but this is not so, because you should also consider the date, that is 1777, the 18th century, right? The second last decade of 17th and 18th century. So during this period, the purchasing power parity and the value of money was very high. If you convert this money to the present day time, then it will become a very huge figure, right? So this was the Dhal rebellion. Next major rebellion is the Pahadia rebellion, which had occurred in the Rajmahal, the Santhal Pargana region, and here it lasted between 1772 and 1782. And here, this is the oldest tribal revolt in the Santhal Pargana division. So the Pahadia tribe are the tribal peoples who are the aboriginal inhabitant of the Santhal Pargana region. You may think that the Santhals are the oldest tribe who inhabit this region, but this is not correct, because the Santhalis were introduced in this region by the Britishers to bring the Pahadia people as minority, make them minority, right? So here, the first primitive tribe inhabited this region was the Pahadia tribe, and they struggled with the foreign forces during the period of even the Rajput rulers, Muslim rulers, Mughals, and the British period. So the independence, the freedom of these tribal people is the most revered thing. They respect it to the greatest extent, and for that matter they are willing to even kill somebody or to die themselves. And that is why they rebelled against any of the power who wanted to impose their supremacy in their region. And that is why they revolted against the Rajputs, Muslims, Mughals, and even the Britishers. However, the Britishers were able to impose their supremacy, their authority in this region. However, they were never able to rule this region with peace. Time and again the rebellion was going on in this region, and some kind of disturbances used to be in this region, right? So here what happened, it led several revolts against the Britishers, and it is considered the first widespread revolt against the foreign rule in the history of struggle of the tribals also, because the extent and the spread of this revolt was very high. The area which was under the influence of this revolt was too huge in comparison with even the Dhal rebellion that had occurred in the Singhbhum and Manbhum region, right? So in that region there was only a kingdom, but here the whole tribal group had revolted against the Britishers, and that is why the extent, the ferocity of this revolt was very high. Even the leadership was being provided by different leaders in different regions, right? So the rebellion against the Britishers started in 1766 under the leadership of Ramanna Ahadi, right? So the ferocity of the revolt increased during the period of 1772 to 82, but the flashpoint, the starting point of this revolt was 1766. It had started in 1766 itself, and it was being led by Ramanna Ahdi. Keep this fact, keep this name in mind, Ramanna Ahdi. He was the person who was leading the revolt. And after this, the Pahadia did not sit peacefully after the start of this revolt, and year on year they go on to rebel against the British ruler. Now, the leadership in different regions, different tribal leaders were active and giving their active leadership to the common masses. So here, Sardar Ramanna Adi was active in Ghasiani Pahad Dumka. Karya Pulhar was active in Amgachia Pahad Dumka. Changru Savaria was active in Taragachi Pahad Rajmahal. Naib Surja was active in different regions and providing leadership to the different people and was active with other leaders, right? So here you will see all the names of the regions are Pahad because this is the edge of Chota Nagpur Plateau, the northeastern end of Chota Nagpur Plateau, which is a hilly terrain, the rugged topography, and there are number of hills, right? And that is why the tribal population is found in a huge number in this region because it is a tough terrain, right? Here, most powerful revolt took place in the years of 1772, 1778 and 1779. These were the years when the ferocity of the revolt used to be increased. And this was because you cannot maintain any of the revolt or anything. Even if you go on to study, then every day is not like the similar day, similar effort will be put on to the studies. So that is the same thing which happens with the every kind of thing in the day to day life, whether it is a revolt, whether it is a war, or whatever it is, you cannot maintain it at a high pitch. And that was what happening over here also. So these were the years when the revolt was at its full power. The ferocity of the revolt was very high, right? यहाँ पर ब्रिटिशर्स को भी परेशानी हो जाती थी कि क्या हुआ भाई, इस साल ये लोग सनक कहे गए हैं, ठीक है. सो दैट वाज द सिचुएशन. एंड हियर सूर्या चांगरू सांवरिया, Pachange Domba Pahadia, and Karya Pulhar were martyred in the year 1772 when the ferocity was at its peak. So these people were martyred, and thereafter the revolt got fizzled out to some extent, and thereafter again it picked up in 1778, right? And here Sukarya Maharaja Sumer Singh was assassinated. So Sunkara Maharaja was assassinated during this revolt, and rebellion again in 1781-82 took place under the leadership of Rani Sarveshwari Devi of Maheshpur. About this lady, about this freedom fighter, we have read in detail, we have discussed in detail in our series of the personalities of Jharkhand. You can go on to go through that video. The complete playlist of is only of 4 videos, and in that all the major personalities of Jharkhand, right, before the 1857 revolt till the independence, and even after the independence, those tribal leaders, those personalities, or those any kind of personalities who were renowned personalities of Jharkhand have been discussed in detail. You can find it in the separate playlist of personalities of Jharkhand, right? Now, here what happened, Pahadia chieftain supported the queen against the Britishers because the grudge against the Britishers was same for both. The Britishers were usurping the and confiscating the land of the king as well as the common masses as well as the jamindars and the Pahadia chieftains also. So all of them united together to revolt against the Britishers. And here, despite the fall of Sardari and Jamindari, the opposition of the Pahadia chieftains and the Pahadia people continued. So basically, the major source of income for these Pahadia leaders and chieftains was the land. And there is a need of money to continue even the revolts also. And their land was confiscated by the Britishers, so there was no source of income, even though they had continued the revolt against the Britishers. And between 1790 to 1810, the Britishers made the Pahadias minority by introducing large number of Santhals in these areas. So basically, the Santhals were not the native people of the Santhal Pargana region, although the region name is derived from this tribal group, but the original inhabitants of this region were the Pahadia people. The Santhals were introduced in this region to make the Pahadias minority, and the Britishers were of the view that if we will introduce the Santhalis in this region, then the Santhalis will support us against the Pahadias. But later on, what happened? The Santhalis themselves started to revolt against the Britishers, and the whole plan of the Britishers was it in ruins, right? So here, nevertheless, their rebellion continued. The Pahadiyas continued to revolt against the Britishers, even though initially the Santhalis were in the favor of the Britishers. And Britishers declared their land as Damineko, which means the government land, right, in 1824, and suppressed the Pahadia struggle and declared the property of these Pahadias as the government property. So the whole land of all the Pahadias were confiscated, and in practical sense, during the British era, the Pahadias had become a landless class because the government had confiscated the whole land of these Pahadia people, right? And here, during the Santhal rebellion of 1855-56, the Santhal rebellion was during 1855-56, and during this rebellion, again the Pahadias contributed from their side to the Santhali rebellion, although initially the Santhals were against the Pahadias, but they were of the clear view that these are the local peoples, they are better than these foreigners, these Britishers. So they supported the Santhal rebellion, and in this Santhal rebellion, the contribution by the Malpahadia people, Malpahadia tribe, was much more greater and important than the role of Soraya Pahadia and Kumar Bhaga Pahadia people, right? And here, next is Kharwar movement, right? So the Kharwar movement was during 1874. I have mentioned the year and the time period of all the movements, so that if there is any question in which you are asked to arrange the revolts in a chronology, then you should know the year in which it had occurred, so that you can arrange them in chronology. So this rebellion is very important rebellion because this was the non-violent struggle against the British power. So many of the people say that Mahatma Gandhi had taught the non-violence, the method of revolt and other things, method of struggle, but the non-violent method of struggle existed way before the birth of Mahatma Gandhi, right? So here it was a non-violent struggle against the British power, and it started in 1874 AD, and its leader was Bhagirath Manjhi. Its leader was Bhagirath Manjhi, and again about Bhagirath Manjhi we have already discussed in the videos of the personalities of Jharkhand, and he is credited for articulating, it goes to Bhagwan Das, ठीक है, of Rajmahal and Lambodar Mukherjee of Dumka. So these were the people who were articulating this method of struggle, who were spreading this struggle in the different regions, which was started by Bhagirath Manjhi. So in the Kharwar movement, three important personalities, Bhagwan Das, Lambodar Mukherjee, and Bhagirath Manjhi. These three facts should be kept in mind, right? And here, Bhagirath Manjhi had adopted a non-cooperative policy by taking the land revenue by himself. First of all, what he did, he declared himself as the king of Bonsai village, right? And started obtaining the rent by not paying the landlords and the government. He asked his followers, he asked his subjects or the people of his village to not to pay the land rent to the jamindars, landlords, or the British authorities, but he started to collect the land rent, collect the revenue, and he said that we are independent, we don't have to cooperate with anybody, and the Britishers asked no authority to collect the land revenue from this region. So this was his point of view, his method of struggle. And Bhagirath Manjhi was born in Taldi village. Where? Taldi village in Godda district. Taldi village in Godda district, and here he had established a PEAT, an educational institution in Taldi village of Godda district, right? And here the second phase of the Kharwar movement is considered to be the movement against the 1881 census. So go on to write in the comment section below that when does the first census in India was conducted. This is not the first census of India, right? The first census of India was the experimental census, in which basically they wanted to study the system and the other things. And this was the second census in which they started to collect even the socio-economic data, the religion of a person, the caste of a person, the subcaste of a person. So all these kind of informations they started to collect, and out of this method the tribal people got infuriated that who the hell are you, why should I tell you, why should I let you know what religion is of mine and from which caste I belong. So against this census they rebelled, right? And here this was led by Duvidha Gosai. The leader of the Kharwar rebellion of 1881 was the Duvidha Gosai, and Bhagirath Manjhi was known as Baba among his followers, among the tribals. However, this is not an important fact because many of the tribal leaders are known by the name of Baba, right? Many of the tribal people used to give the name of Baba, the title of Baba, to their leader. So if such kind of question will be there, then there will be huge dispute in the JPSC itself. Many of the cases will be filed against them. So noises, here we finish off our discussion about these three important revolts. And if you have watched the video till this point, then please consider subscribing the channel and press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new videos, as well as go on to follow us on the Facebook and Instagram handle. Here is our Telegram channel. From here you will start getting the PDF of these videos very shortly, as well as you can get the monthly current affairs and the other things free of cost from our app as well as our website. So here we finish off. Get back and get connected with us again for the next video. Thank you very much and have a nice day.